Alrighty, Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Nonetheless, we're going to get right into it. So, ran into an article, and the law has been on a brother's mind for a long time, man. So, there's a funny, silly, ridiculous argument that some of these people like to use when it comes to keeping the law. Do you have to whenever you bring out, are you keeping the law? You know, they'll say, okay, are you burning cows, or are you burning goats? All kinds of nonsense, man. Not to say that the sacrificial laws are nonsense, but hey, it is what it is, man. We can't do that right now, and I'm going to bring out some verses to substantiate this. Not to say that it's done away, but again, it would be unlawful for us to attempt to do some of these things right now in our position, in the land of our captivity, or the land of our captivities. So we're going to go into this little article here. We're going to read it through the entire thing because it's not that long, and then we're going to go into some verses here. So this is called, Do Christians Have to Obey the Old Testament Law? And we'll just go into it. Okay, here we go. Answer. The key to understanding the relationship between the Christian and the law is knowing that the Old Testament law was given to the nation of Israel. Not to Christians. Interesting. Some of the laws were to reveal to the Israelites how to obey and please God. The Ten Commandments, for example. Some of the laws were to show the Israelites how to worship God and atone for sin. The sacrificial system. Some of the laws were intended to make the Israelites distinct from other nations. The food and clothing rules. None of the Old Testament law is binding on Christians today. When Jesus died on the cross, he put an end to the Old Testament law. Now, again, we're going to go into that. In place of the Old Testament law, Christians are under the law of Christ, which is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. If we obey those two commands, we will be fulfilling all that Christ requires of us. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Now, this does not mean the Old Testament law is irrelevant today. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm just going to pause here real quick. It says here, now this does not mean the Old Testament law is irrelevant today. So they just stated that the law was not given to Christians, it was given to Israelites. So it did not apply to Christians today. So now they're saying here, now this does not mean the Old Testament law is irrelevant today. So what is it? What are they trying to say? So let's keep on going. Many of the commands in the Old Testament law fall into the categories of loving God and loving your neighbor. I wish they would be a little bit more specific about that, but they're not going to. It's okay. The Old Testament can be a good guidepost for knowing how to love God and knowing what goes into loving your neighbor. At the same time, to say the Old Testament law applies to Christians today is incorrect, of course. The Old Testament law is a unit. Either all of it applies or none of it applies. If Christ fulfilled some of it, such as the sacrificial system, he fulfilled all of it. Interesting. This is love for God, to obey his commands, and his commands are not burdensome. The Ten Commandments were essentially a summary of the entire Old Testament law. All right. 9 of the 10 commandments are clearly repeated in the New Testament, all except the command to observe the Sabbath day. Of course. Okay. Obviously, if we are loving God, we will not be worshiping false gods or bowing down before idols. If we are loving our neighbors, we will not be murdering them, lying to them, committing adultery. And how ironic, lying to them, but saying the law doesn't apply. Anyway, committing adultery against them or coveting what belongs to them. The purpose of the Old Testament law is to convict people of our inability to keep the law and point us to our need for Jesus Christ as Savior. The Old Testament law was never intended by God to be the universal law for all people for all of time. We are to love God and love our neighbors. If we obey those two commands faithfully, we will be upholding all that God requires of us. So I didn't want to hearken too much on the law being universal. Of course, there was a universal law in the book of Genesis, as you saw. King Abimelech, he down there got his whole entire nation destroyed. Whenever he was getting ready to put in work on Abraham's wife. Now, we're going to go straight to the point, so bear with me just a moment here. Let's go to Matthew 5 and 18. Matthew, okay. Actually, let me go here. All right, bro. Matthew 5, 18 in the NCV. I'm trying to, man, shoot, we gotta find, okay, there we go. Matthew 5 and 18 in the NCV. I tell you the truth, nothing will disappear from the law until heaven and earth are gone. Not even the smallest letter or the smallest part of a letter will be lost until everything has happened. So it's truly vexing. Like, you have to, like, it's crazy that you have to actually read these and then you have somebody saying something completely opposite. But we'll go on to the next one. Again, it's pretty plain. I tell you the truth. Is Yahushua lying here? No. Nothing will disappear from the law. So does that mean the sacrificial laws were done away with? No. Does that mean that the Sabbath day was done away with and we don't have to keep the Sabbath anymore? No. It's not. So I'm not sure what they're saying here at Got Questions, or do Christians have to, whoever read this op-ed here, whoever read this or wrote this article here, I'm not sure what they're saying, but the Bible's saying something a little bit different. Just a tad bit different than what they're saying. So let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, the 31st chapter. 31st chapter. We're going to get this in the KJV. There we go. Okay. That's 31 and 33. All right. Okay, because they said that the law is not going to be universal or anything like that. Okay, well, we'll find out. But this shall be the covenant. Actually, I'll go up to the 32nd verse. Actually, let me go up to the 31st verse. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband to them, saith Yahweh. So this is not according to the covenant that was given to the nation of Israel in the Mount Sinai. This is not pertaining to that. This is something different. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. So this is the new covenant. After those days, saith Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. How interesting. So I wonder what laws those are. Are those the quote unquote laws of Christ? Or are these the Mosaic laws, or the law of Moses? I wonder. I wish I knew. I wonder. How wicked can these people be? So anyway, now I'm going to go into the portion where they stated that the sacrificial laws are done away with. So there is even Israelites that will say that the nation of Israel, or sorry, that Yahushua did away with the sacrificial laws whenever he passed on the cross. Now we'll go to 2 Chronicles, because this is not anything that's difficult to reconcile. You just need to go into the law and see exactly what pertains to these sacrificial laws. So I'm doing too much. Let me go to 2 Chronicles, the 22nd. Okay, so we're going to go into the 16th verse. I want to get this in the NLT so I can make it as simple as possible. Okay, so this is concerning King Uzziah. Oh my gosh, man, I'm doing all right. Here we go. I feel like an old man working this computer. Anyway, but when he had become powerful, he also became proud, which led to his downfall. He sinned against Yahweh his God by entering the sanctuary of Yahweh's temple and personally burning incense on the incense altar. So the king burned incense on the incense altar, but I thought we were supposed to be able to do incense, and we were supposed to be giving sacrifice and all that. And even in this point in time, a man is going off for doing that. So let's look here. Azariah the high priest went in after him with 80 other priests of Yahweh, all brave men. They confronted King Uzziah, and said, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to Yahweh. That is the work of the priest alone, the descendants of Aaron, who are set apart for this work. Get out of the sanctuary, for you have sinned. Yahweh God, or the Adonai Yahweh, will not honor you for this." So there you go. So it's very specific when it comes to the law of sacrifice, as well as burning the incense inside of the temple. So you can't just be anyone running around trying to build up an altar for yourself and say, "I'm going to burn a sacrifice or burn incense to the Most High." This was specific to the Levitical priests, namely the sons of Aaron. Okay? So it would be very, very, the scriptures say, didn't Yahushua say to Satan, "And thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God"? So the last thing you want to do is go off and say, "I'm a Levitical priest and I'm the son of Aaron and I'm going to build up an altar and now I'm going to burn sacrifices and burn incense to the Most High God. Look at me." No, that's very silly, and that wouldn't be a smart thing to do. So we're going to go to Exodus 30:7 now. The 30th chapter in the 7th verse. So this is concerning the incense that's actually burnt in the altar. So here it is. Every morning when Aaron maintains the lamps, he must burn fragrant incense on the altar. And each evening when he lights the lamps, he must again burn incense in Yahweh's presence. This must be done from generation to generation. Look at that. Do not offer any unholy incense on this altar, or any burnt offerings, grain offerings, or liquid offerings. So there we go. And I mean, let's go even further to see how intricate and specific this law is. Once a year, Aaron must purify the altar by smearing its horns with blood from the offering made to purify the people from their sin. This will be a regular annual event from generation to generation, for this is Yahweh's most holy altar. So again, this has to happen on the altar of the Most High God. So if we don't have an altar for the Most High God and we don't have a temple for the Most High God, then I mean, shoot, we're not doing it correctly and we couldn't do it. We would be in sin. Okay? So let's go here to Deuteronomy, the 12th chapter and the 11th verse now. Hopefully this is not too difficult for anyone to understand. But again, the law is very, very specific and intricate, and you could cause a great offense if you tried to do one of these things and you went off. So let's look here. Deuteronomy, the 12th chapter and the 11th verse. You must bring everything I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, your sacred offerings, and your offerings to fulfill a vow, to the designated place of worship, the place Yahweh your God chooses for his name to be honored. I wonder what place that is. Okay, so let's figure this out. Let's go on to the 13th verse here. Be careful not to sacrifice your burnt offerings just anywhere you like. All right, there you go. Hey, so you can't just do it anywhere you want to. Okay. Now let's go into 1 Kings 11:36. So you can't just burn sacrifices anywhere you want to. Okay. I'm not sure how much more plain things need to get, but we're gonna go into the 36th verse of 1 Kings. Look at this. And I definitely want to give a shout out to the brothers at Sakari for helping me find this verse, because I was struggling hard as a mug, man. All right, here we go. This is in the NLT. His son will have one tribe so that the descendants of David, my servant, will continue to reign, shining like a lamp in Yasharalem, the city I have chosen to be the place for my name. So you can't just burn them anywhere. You have to burn them in Jerusalem. Okay. Okay. You have to do sacrifice and burn incense in the temple of the Most High God in Jerusalem or Yasharalem. Okay. Hopefully that's not too difficult. Okay. Now we'll go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, in the 63rd verse to begin to land things home. Okay. All right, we're gonna go to the 63rd verse, and this is all in the NLT, but nonetheless, it's not saying anything different here. Just as Yahweh has found great pleasure in causing you to prosper and multiply, Yahweh will find pleasure in destroying you. You will be torn from the land you are about to enter and occupy. For Yahweh will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth to the other. There you will worship foreign gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known, gods made of wood and stone. So the point there is, for Yahweh will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth unto the other. So that means more than likely you're going to have a majority of Israelites not in Jerusalem or not in Yasharalem, okay? So a lot of Israelites won't be there. So to drive this home, let's go to... I mean, shoot, how are you going to give a sacrifice if you're not in Jerusalem? So let's go to Hosea, the 3rd chapter. And this is, Hosea, the 3rd chapter and the 3rd verse. All right. And we want to get this in the KJV. All right. So Hosea 3:3. And I said unto her, thou shalt abide for me many days. Thou shalt not play. I'm tripping, bro. All right, here we go. Pardon me. 3 and 4. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim. Okay? So there you go. Key point here, sacrifice. All right? So we're not going to be able to sacrifice in the temple of the Most High God in Yasharalem or Jerusalem. All right? But let's look here. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek Yahweh their God and David their king, and shall fear Yahweh and his goodness in the latter days. All right? So that's going to happen in the latter days. That's whenever we're going to be able to burn incense again and offer sacrifice again to the Most High God. All right? Now, as it pertains to this silly article that was put together, or the silly answer that was put together, we're going to go to 1 Timothy 4:1. We're going to go there. All right. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Now, I'm not going to lie. This, from the way I read this, it sounded like an Edomite wrote this. But a lot of our people hold on to this same exact belief. Even Israelites that know that they're Israelites hold on to this belief. There's actual camps that actually teach that the sacrificial laws are done away with, but they're obviously not. Okay, so nonetheless, I'm sure I drove the point home, and Lord willing, brothers and sisters were edified. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son Yahweh Shai.